Hi, everybody. It's Liz from eComEngine. I'm so excited to have Joel Wool with me today. He's from Boutique Seller. He knows everything about advertising on Amazon. It's Prime Day
Everything.
today. Well, a lot of things, but it's Prime Day today, and the next big thing is Q4. So I've got Joel here on one of the busiest days ever, and he's going to answer a couple questions about advertising, Amazon, social, just our whole space. Joel, thank you so much for joining me today.
Sure thing. Thank you for having me here.
So tell me about the beginning of your Amazon journey. How did you get started in this crazy industry?
The beginnings are not really important. You want to know what's going on now, but no, I'll tell you. I'll tell you. So I
Thanks.
got into Amazon because I was in consumer product in different capacities, and Amazon was sort of a natural outgrowth of being in consumer product based business, and we I ended up working on one account with the ads. I was very intrigued by the concept of customer search terms and manual. I guess just your. I remember what I was feeling. I remember where I was actually when I heard this concept for the first time of manually converting um, customer search terms into keywords and knowing exactly what they used in order to get to that order and being able to retarget others with those words. I was like, wow, that's genius. Obviously, the concept is not new to Amazon, but I thought that was a game changer, and I decided to immerse myself, and I did. And I don't immerse myself very, very often, but when I do, it's all in. So I came up with some kind of process that worked for me. Started helping out a couple of others, kind of like friends and relatives in the business, just brainstorming, and that's when I knew at some point that I actually have a business here and get away from the China importing and getting dirty with boxes and schlepping and all that stuff, and just sit at the computer and click, click, click. And that's what happened. And I just kept on evolving. I learned everything there is to know. I learned that most people out there don't really know what's going on because you really have to do hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of A/B, split testing, and which is what I was doing over and over and over again. I found a process that worked, and I built an agency, and it's been a couple of years, and we're doing really well.
That's awesome. How does Boutique Seller differ from other agencies that work with Amazon sellers in the advertising space?
Um, so I don't like really talking about my competition. Um, I, I'm, it's, I, I want to say that I'm not knowledgeable enough about what they are doing. I mean, I know a couple of big ones that we take over accounts from all the time, and I know that I see what they're doing is wrong. So, number one, on the process itself, so there are two kinds of Amazon ad agencies. One is where you get an account manager and they do everything for you manually, and some are better than others. I've seen some that do atrocious jobs just in the simple, operational, just their operational, skills. And then there are different agencies that mostly use automation, and there it comes down to number one, how well their automation is built. What variables are they using? How often are they changing it? And then what information is and what changes are the clients? What are they inputting? What are they how are they tinkering with the software? So we have the process down pat. We keep on improving it, and we have a hybrid model where we have software that helps us on the back end, but the client doesn't touch it. We talk with a client, usually monthly, but sometimes a lot more than that. We create a whole new strategy every single month based on the holistic look of the account, of what's going on, of trends, of where they were last year, of seasons. So almost like a real partner that's helping you grow your business, watch your dollars. We'll be the first one to tell you if you're spending too much, even on our fees. Like if your account can't sustain our fees, we'll say, you got to give this a break, or maybe we'll give you a break for 1 month or two. So having our clients' best interest at heart, and I think that's all there is, because once you have their best interest, you find the best way to make the ads work for them. And I think that's how we differ from most others out there.
That's awesome. So Q4 is approaching, and obviously it behooves an Amazon seller to think about their advertising strategy and sort of amp that up with the anticipation of better sales and more revenue. When should they start thinking about that, about amping up their advertising strategy for Q4?
Behooves. It behooves. I'd say, October, November, December. Mid-September is when they really need to, don't forget, there are back to school. Like, every account is very different. I mean, the hunting and the fishing category, they have to wind down, Q4. So, but if you're in a category that's going to see a jump in sales in Q4, and most categories are, then you need to start in September. You need to have a very clear plan of what you're doing for, October, November, and December. And it's got to be based on last year, if you have, a historical sales, or facts on the ground. Like, what are the sales looking like in, August, September? What do you think they're going to look like? How much can you dedicate towards ad spend? And what exactly is your objective with that? So it's easy to say, ramp up your spending. But what does that mean? What does ramp up your spending mean? So it's got to be very, very quantifiable, right? That's the word?
Strategic.
Yeah, you got. Yeah, you really need to know how much you're spending on what, and what are you getting in return. I've seen far too many accounts that just, it's you got to spend. It's Prime Day. You must spend. It's December. We must spend. Why must you spend? Are you being profitable when you spend? So that is always the concern. If you know your profits, if you're an Amazon seller that understands how far you can go, and I say typically 8% on gross Amazon sales as an ad spend, that's okay. You go to 15-20%, you're cutting into your margins. You can do $1 million in sales in December. You might not make money after ad spend, after storage fees, after shipping and returns and all that stuff. So one is behooved to be very careful on what their plan is in Q4. And I think that people treat Amazon ads way too much like a casino. Not in a way necessarily that they're just spending you would in a casino, but it's like, let's throw some money here and see what happens. Let's spin the what do you call that thing? I don't spend too much time in casinos, but the roulette wheel, right? You don't either. We'll spin it, and then we'll press this button, and then we'll go to that game. We'll do, and, I'll start a ASIN targeting, and then I'll start an auto, and I'll start a manual. It's not a game. It's not exactly a math, right? And it's not exactly a science, and it's not exactly an art, but I like to say, it's a mix of the three. And there are strategies that you can apply, and it's important to deploy a very specific strategy based on your very specific objective.
Okay,
so very serious.
You are very serious. I like that about you. So when somebody's thinking about that, being strategic and the different strategies that you hear about when you talk about advertising, both on Amazon and off Amazon, I hear a lot of people asking whether or not that they should be focusing on common keywords or more long tail keywords. I hear people asking about bidding on their brand name and their competitor's brand name and all that kind of stuff. Do you guys factor all that into your conversation, do you see sellers making a lot of mistakes with those types of things? Do you feel like
Yeah,
that is very, very specific to your niche or what you're selling, or do you think that's more of a general strategy and best practice to know
yeah.
the ins and outs of
There's
those?
the general strategy is to follow the numbers. However, every single account and every single product, meaning you can have two accounts and have the same product in both accounts, and they'll be different, or meaning the results will vary, or two different products in the same account, obviously as well, they'll have to have different strategies. So when it comes to, I don't know, brand names, like how, I'll give you an example. We took over a very large, let's just say, fashion brand not too long ago. Their ads, the numbers were looking fine, like that a 10% spend, like a 25% ad sales to total sales ratio. It looked very balanced. But then when we dug in, they were all their ad spend was dedicated towards defending their and whoever managed this super big agency that managed their ads, they were nearly every campaign was called a defensive campaign, and they were just mostly narrowed in on the brand name. Now the brand name, you should own that at a very low ACoS typically. And if it's a private label brand that most people haven't heard of, then you're not even dealing with that, because ultimately the proof is in the pudding. And in this case, it would be in the report, in your search term reports. You would see, are people looking for your brand name? What's the conversion on your brand name? What is it costing you? What's your ACoS? In this scenario, I mean, it's a well-known brand. If they're already seeking that product, then there should not be a very high cost of acquisition. And they were just spending a lot of money on that. So we had to break it up, create a couple of campaigns to defend their brand name, because you do need to defend that, because Gucci might want to take your ad spot, right, for that search term. But you want to keep it at a low ACoS. They were at 30% ACoS, and we brought that down to a 15% target for those words. Everything else, we want to try to start getting them ranked and indexed for regular search terms, because chances are, say they did $100,000 in a month in ad sales, 50 of that probably they would have gotten organically anyway, because like I said, the majority of their keywords were their own brand search terms. So you really have to look at the numbers and the words and see what makes sense for your product. And it's hard to give specific examples, but you're doing very well with your questions. So
Thank you.
I hope we're getting some good information.
Well, I think this is an area where a lot of sellers are in the dark, and that's why they need people like you who really know what they're talking about to help them not spend too much money. Because I think what you said, people are just throwing money. Come Prime Day, come Q4, you're just throwing money, and you're just seeing what sticks, if it sticks. And a lot of times there's not strategy behind it, and there are a lot of people that are saying, okay, well, I'll help you with your advertising, right? But then it's not really helping that much. So there are people in this space that are not, and I know you don't like to talk about your competitors, and that's cool, but there are people in this space that are saying, I mean, I know some people that are great at advertising, and I trust them, to take care of the people that I know, but I know that there are also people out there that are like, here, just do this. And like you've been saying this whole time, there's not one size fits all for all sellers. It's really a nuanced thing that you have to think about strategically, and you have to implement strategically for your particular store.
Yeah, I think the biggest complaint people have is being locked into contracts with agencies, good or bad. They're locked into contracts, and it's unfair because, this is their business. I don't have contracts. Yes, we lose big time. Just today, we had a guy with a very large supplement, a brand. This guy is, let's just say, Eastern European. He's from another country. and is, the FBA in the United States, extremely shrewd, extremely clever, but too clever. So like every step, there's conversations and conversations and conversations, and it all makes sense, but at some point, like I said, it's not an exact math. So it doesn't help you to go all forensic. And because we don't have a contract, we had them for 2 months, and it costed us a fortune of, just implementing new processes, and now they're gone. But you know what? They're happy that we didn't lock them in, and they trust us, and they just figure they'll try something else. Chances are they'll probably come back to us. But we've had clients coming back 3 times already. And that's what I was saying. The number one complaint that people have, and I feel like it's extremely dishelpful, is when agencies lock you into a contract and then tell you, oh, wait another month, without having a clear strategy. And I think that it's pretty simple. Amazon ads is pretty simple. It's not like Google ads. It's not like any other method of advertising, because you're in the store. It's very clearly like product placement in a Target store. Like you're on aisle 41, but if you pay $400 a day, you'll be at aisle 1, and eye level, and you'll have one of those coupon clippers there. So knowing that, it's a very simple process that the sellers should be able to understand, and they should never be dragged on and on. Oh, the ACOS is going to come down. Just give it a month, another month. And I think that happens a lot, because agencies, their business is just collecting fees. Our business is satisfying our clients, so then we can get more clients and more fees. But the fees are secondary, and by default, we just do a good job.
That's one thing that struck me so much. So like I learned about you on LinkedIn. I started following you on LinkedIn. And I'm going to ask you about social media in a second. But when I went to your website, there's a phone number right on your website. That's so rare in this industry, for there to just be a phone number where you can call and talk to somebody. It's right there on the top. Like, hey, call Joel. It's right here.
No, it's my number.
I know.
It's my number there. And now we're changing that, because thank God we're our goal is we're getting close to that, is to manage 1% of all third-party sellers, and we have a lot of top 100 sellers, definitely a nice handful of 100 sellers, of top 100 sellers, and thank God we're getting very, very busy. I can't field every call, obviously, even though like that sales and marketing is at this point what I'm doing. So we're changing that a little bit, but still, like I just did a promotion on an Amazon group, and I posted my cell phone number, text me, WhatsApp me. Look, somehow I've managed to do this with the same time in the day like everyone else. And I think it's very important for the when you're in the agency model, and you're like taking money from a client to do something on their behalf, it's very personal, and you can't always keep it personal. In 10 years from now, I know, even in 3 years from now, I know things are going to be very, very different, even, in the industry, certainly in my agency. But as long as you can, for me, I find that very, very important, and it helped contribute to our growth to this point.
That's awesome. So you said something that sparked my interest, and it was a question I was going to ask you originally, and then I scrapped it. And so now I'm really going to ask it. So the landscape has obviously changed a ton for third-party sellers over the last couple of years. I know that when I first got involved in the industry, it was drastically different than it is now. There are a lot of rumors about vendor hybrid models and vendor central and seller central, and there's advertising available now, and there have been all these changes. What do you think is the next big change for third-party Amazon sellers?
Oh,
it's kind of a hot seat question. So if you
yeah, that is. I'm feeling a little hot right now. Oof. The next big change, it's for third-party sellers. I feel like I mean, maybe I'm just not creative enough. I just don't see how much more can change for them. Meaning, if you have a brand that's selling on Amazon, it's almost like you're getting capped out at some point. I'm not sure what else could evolve for them. I mean, the advertising is there. Amazon is trying to do outside advertising. Obviously, it's a step down. It's not a step up. Like, if you're advertising on Amazon, that's great. Now you're gonna go advertise on Facebook, on Google. Like, doesn't have the same effect. Beyond the advertising, I really don't like. They have self-fulfilled Prime, which is great, but Amazon at the same time is moving in, making inroads with their Amazon Basics and all their own private label brands. That's not going to stop. I don't think that's going to stop. It's not rocket science to import, kitchen widgets, and Amazon can do it as good as anyone else. So I'm not really sure. I think that for big brands, things are going to change a little bit. Like you're seeing all that stuff with vendors being cut out and being allowed back in, and then they want to get them, back out as third. I think it's good. The next step for sellers will be other platforms. That I'm certain about. I know Shopify is making big moves. I've been actually messaging Shopify executives for the last year and saying, when are you just pressing that button to connect all the Shopify websites, and boom, you have a platform that's bigger than Amazon, like in 5 minutes. So I think they're going to press that button. But so like, opportunities will arise in omni-channel. I'm just not sure. Again, maybe I'm not far-sighted enough. I'm not sure what's going to be changing at Amazon.
I think that's fair. So I did mention that I'm sorry, go ahead.
No, and I also think that sellers themselves have to, the commerce keeps on growing. We're a consumer society. That's not ending anytime soon. And as long as you innovate and you keep on innovating, I'm always shocked by sellers that are just stuck with their 3 products or their 30 products. I mean, you literally could, run a business with thousands and thousands of private label products, and you have to constantly evolve. And the way to grow is not by just maxing out your 3 products. You want to grow by adding another 3 products. And I think that is probably the best tip that I can give Amazon sellers. I say it all the time: just grow your product line and innovate. Just innovate. Easier said than done, I know, but it's the truth.
So I mentioned that I first found you on LinkedIn. You did a video that just totally spoke to me. And I am responsible for social media for my company. And I just was at an event in Colorado where Jen Harada did a presentation about authentic social media and being yourself and being authentic. And I think that that's all great advice for social media strategy, but I'm wondering where that fits in for an Amazon seller. Beyond running ads and doing promotions on Facebook and leveraging Instagram for that, do you think that social media and networking can impact an Amazon seller's bottom line?
Yeah, it comes down to how innovative your products are, and like how well you can market those products that are not that innovative. And sometimes you could. I've seen some great products that are just, the founders, the sellers, the brand owners, whatever, they're out there every day promoting their products, making partnerships, and getting visibility in media. It makes all the difference. I myself, we have a business that we resell for mostly inventors. So, you have a couple that invented some kind of widget in their garage, or someone's playing in his basement with a product. He figured it out and he started selling, and he's at Home Depot and he's trying to get on Amazon. So we'll buy the product from them and become the exclusive sellers on Amazon. Some of these products, you'll see them getting social media mentions, getting, featured in a holiday article in a magazine, and the sales take off like crazy. So, and they're not necessarily, genius products, major innovative products. So if you've got a brand that's a little bit out there, that's not like 100% mainstream, if you can be out there and promote the product, if I don't know about authenticity, right? I mean, that's a whole other thing, but just in terms of, getting visibility and promoting your product, of course it helps. Definitely helps.
Great. Well, I think I've taken enough of your Prime Day. Today's day 2 of Prime Day 2019. Joel Wool from Boutique Seller. He's great at Amazon advertising. When he and I were talking about doing this video together, he said, I can smile at you and I can engage you, and then I'll start talking to you about advertising, and I'll bore you to tears. And you didn't bore me to tears today, Joel. Really appreciate you taking the time today. And you guys look out in the comments for a link to boutiqueseller.com. You can go check out Joel's company and agency. And Joel, we'll see you next time.
Awesome. Thank you for having me, and looking forward to seeing you again.
You too. Thanks.